So before I came here tonight, I was thinking about telling a story about transitions, about moving from one place to another. But I've moved so much that I decided to tell more of a long-term transition, that something that sort of happened to me over time that I realized that I'm still realizing and learning. Hey, I recognize a lot of faces once I'm up here. So I was going to actually talk about transitioning here from New York to Beirut and the challenges with the language here, with the different nuances with new Arabic speakers around pronunciation of, say, going to the supermarket and asking for a plastic bag. Andik kies sounds very like something else, which got me into trouble. And then also saying to somebody, being stopped at a checkpoint, and then the sold is asking me, "What's in your bag?" And it said, "Bas Ferid," but I meant furrod, meaning homework, like my homework, my studies. So I know, yeah, they're endless. That's like two. That's two. But don't worry, like there's been many here over weeks. But I'll talk about something that happened to me with my sort of more awareness around who I was, and the situation, it really hit me hard. I was standing in a food store in Manhattan, tons of vegetables and fresh fruit in front of me, and I was struggling. I was looking at all this food, and I thought about the previous 3 years of where I'd lived in Central Africa, in the Congo, in Sudan, and how there, even the challenge of getting one meal a day for people was a lot of hardship. I was struggling from the point of view that kids there, from the artillery thumping the ground close by, they didn't have a chance to go to school, let alone have a classroom to go to because it was flattened. And I was sort of looking around me at like an old woman holding a pug dog, which is like a fashion accessory. They're animals as well, don't hate on me. But in New York, they're dressed up in tartan sweaters, etc., etc. Rewind to where I grew up. I grew up in Ireland in the 1980s and 90s. 1980s, very economically depressed. Not the same what was going on here, not to the same extent, but a lot of unemployment, a lot of emigration, and just not a great time to be there. And then the 1990s, when the Celtic Tiger started to purr, not roar, but certainly purr, and a lot of people were sort of coming into Ireland. And I was, my schooling, my environment was white, middle class, suburbia in Dublin. My exposure to people of colour was down to one boy in our school, Ashley, who was cool, funny, intelligent, good at sport. He was popular, but I had no barometer to gauge how lucky I was. Where am I going with this? My father, he'd bellow at me, "Stephen, like, eat your potatoes, there are starving children in the world." But I saw photographs and pictures from 1984 in Ethiopia, but it seemed very abstract. It seemed very like that, who are these people? I don't know. There was a connection, but I was young. In New York, after being there for a few years, I was sitting on a pier watching a sunset with a friend of mine, Andrew. He's a gay Filipino lawyer. He advocates for survivors of domestic violence, especially partners that aren't married but are together. And I was talking with him, and I said to him, "Andrew, I don't see colour. Like, when I'm talking to somebody, I just treat them as face value. Like, I'll talk to them, whether you're black, you're white, you're Chinese, anything, I'll talk to you. he said to me, you didn't just say that, did you? I said, I do. I mean, I just don't see colour. I just talk to people, I take them as who they are, for what they stand for and how I connect with them. And for the next half hour, Andrew passionately highlighted to me how important it is to actually notice where people have come from, what challenges they faced, and how they come to be where they are now. A classic example is a friend of mine, Sheldon, who's a very successful Emmy Award-winning video producer in New York. Sheldon would always wear nice shirts, a sports jackets in the house, a sports jacket. He'd always look very well, even if we were just going for a casual bite to eat or we're going out for a beer. He'd always look his best. And I joke with him and I say, why are you so well dressed? And he'd say to me, oh, it's to impress the ladies, etc., etc. And it was a joke, but one time he looked at me seriously. He goes, Steve, the reason why I dressed up is because if I try to stop a taxi late at night, they won't stop for me. If I try to get into places that you will, wearing a t-shirt and jeans, I won't. When I was younger, police stopped me driving my car that I owned, that I worked hard to pay for, because they thought that I didn't fit in it, that it looked wrong. And the contrast in what I saw in America wasn't as stark as what I saw between Europe and Africa, but it was more subtle. And but be it Ireland, be it America, be it Lebanon, there are inequalities there. And I feel that I've come from a place where I knew that they were present, but Andrew was right. I should look at people differently. I shouldn't treat everybody the same. And when I'm talking to somebody, I should recognize the challenges that they've faced, the discrimination that they've had to go through to get to where they are. And that's the transition that I sort of came to today. So.